Well, welcome everyone. We are so glad to be hosting this webinar on navigating employment after a spinal cord injury in partnership with Work Without Limits. We will be posting our slides and a recording of this session to our website for those who could not make it live with us today, and for any of you who might want to come back and revisit the details. Along the way, please feel free to go ahead and post any questions you have using the Q&A function or any other ways that you see here. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. We'll start with you, Kathy. Kathy Muhr is the Director of Community Engagement for UMass Medical School's Work Without Limits initiative, which aims to increase employment of people with disabilities. Kathy joined UMass in 2007 and transitioned to the Work Without Limits team in 2010. Kathy manages employer network partnerships and various Work Without Limits events, such as career fairs, and she also contributes to a wide number of diversity-focused projects. She has extensive experience in the field of disability and community engagement. Thank you so much for joining us, Kathy. And Tom Smith. Tom is the first person in medical history to have sustained 3 medical paralyzing spinal cord injuries. In 2010, recognizing the deep inequities faced by individuals and their families affected by paralysis, Tom co-founded the Thomas E. Smith Foundation, which we affectionately refer to as TESF, with his friend Tucker Mullen to better the lives of those affected by and living with paralysis through financial and emotional support. Today, Tom serves full-time as president, building on partnerships and strengthening the care continuum. And I am Sarah Merrefield. I'm the executive director and chief operating officer of the foundation, and I am thrilled to have joined the team a year ago to focus on addressing access to improving quality of care and well-being for people living with paralysis. Thank you all for joining us today for this second webinar in our 2-part series, which we launched with the objective to raise awareness about attracting and retaining talent, to pose ideas for inclusive innovations, and to spark further action to foster and develop talent from a sometimes untapped community. The content for this webinar was directly responsive to feedback we received from our first webinar, which really requested more information. And our participants noted that returning to work after a spinal cord injury comes with unique challenges, but having the right resources can make all the difference. So we invited Work Without Limits to share more information and support and the connections they make and can facilitate to take the next steps in your career. They'll also share information about how work earnings can affect disability and Social Security benefits and outline some resources on workplace accommodations. Before launching into today's program, we wanted to share a little bit about the Thomas E. Smith Foundation for those of you that might not be familiar with us. As I mentioned, we were founded in 2010 to address inequities, but we do that by really focusing on 3 main areas: bridging gaps in care for people and their families who are affected by spinal cord injury, to investing in groundbreaking research when it means that it unlocks mobility for people living with paralysis, and advocating for equitable access to care. Tom, I'm going to turn to you. So, having been through 3 separate paralyzing injuries and founding the foundation to really address all of the many access barriers that you saw each time along the way, what really strikes you from your personal lived experience as someone living with paralysis, as well as someone who has spent more than 15 years working with countless grantees to navigate their journey in the workplace?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah and Kathy. Just echoing what Sarah said, thank you so much for being with us today. Um, as Sarah mentioned, we founded the foundation in 2010. So for 15 years, we've been working with individuals and families living with paralysis. And through my 3 separate injuries from 2008 to 2010, as Sarah mentioned, really saw the gaps in healthcare, but really as it pertains to this webinar, the reacclimation into the community, which we often refer to as kind of our our long-term plan for individuals that sustain a spinal cord injury or live with paralysis. And actually, I want to pull up a couple of examples because what was interesting was when we founded the foundation, Tucker and I wanted to do something to kick off this journey and milestone of becoming a 501(c)(3). So we decided that we were going to do a marathon from Swampscott to my former high school in Hamilton, Massachusetts, then to Manchester by the Sea. And when I went to the police station, I'm in my wheelchair and go up the driveway and I couldn't get in. And come to find out that the Swampscott police station was one of only a few in Massachusetts that wasn't accessible. And we worked with the town, and within 2 years, the town approved for a brand new police station to be built. But what that taught me was the awareness piece. It's not that people don't want to make things accessible. It's that oftentimes they don't think about it unless it's brought to their attention. So that was 2.5 months after my third accident, and then kind of being launched into this, and then working with town officials, and then the state of Massachusetts. It was really just an awareness piece. And then fast forward 6 months later, when I go to college. I was the first person to attend the college that was founded in 1919 that was in a wheelchair. So again, here I am with the awareness piece and the access. And the school was great in terms of installing over 3 dozen door openers to several different buildings, automatic doors as well, creating a driveway so I could access the dorm room that I was in. If there was inclement weather, whether it's rain, snow, getting close to the building because there wasn't a handicap parking spot that was accessing the door that I was going through. So really within that first year after my third accident, it was about the awareness and then the willingness to work with people. And to date, we've worked with hundreds of families within the foundation. And oftentimes the feedback and conversations that I have with individuals is, Tom, what do I do next? And I think oftentimes when these devastating injuries happens or diagnosis with neurological disease that results in paralysis, your ability changes physically, but your mind is still good, right? Your mind is strong. And I think oftentimes, folks, and I'll speak for myself, it's very easy to think that life is over, and that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. And I'll give two examples of what the Thomas C. Smith Foundation has done in the last year with two individuals. And one was with an extremely talented young woman who was in her first year of law school and wanted an internship. And we partnered with one of our longtime sponsors, and I'll give a shout out to Salem 5 Bank, who gave this individual an opportunity for an interview and did not treat them any differently. And it was because of this individual's mind and what she wanted to accomplish that it wasn't because she was in a wheelchair that she got the interview. It was because of the talent. But oftentimes, I think when you see someone that does things a little differently physically, um, they might be put in a category that this is going to be. It's obviously different than a normal employee. So this is going to be maybe too much, and the opportunity might not be there. Well, Salem 5 took the opposite approach and said to this individual, what do you need to be doing in terms of your recovery? And this individual laid out the rehabilitation schedule that she ideally would want. And they accommodated not only around that, but the ability to do a hybrid set. So they agreed upon certain days that this individual was going to go into the office and then work from home. And the feedback, and then talking to the SVP of HR at the bank, it was a win-win for not only the employer but the employee and what they learned and people's different abilities. And it was, ordering another desk, a couple pieces of technology that helped this individual access certain things. So it was a tremendous win all around. And then the final individual I'll talk about was someone that we worked with last summer and over the fall who was a paraplegic, and being able to access certain points from employment to rehab and back. And this person happened to be in sales, so it was providing that technology. And
I
Sarah,
love that,
say
Tom.
that I know that you've been here for about a year, so I'd love to get your point of view and what strikes you from the grantees that we've worked with and the workforce development aspect.
Thanks, Tom. That's amazing. And thanks so much for shouting out the story from our last webinar. I'm still fueled by that. And thank you all for joining us if any of you are here with us from that experience. But a lot of the themes that you talk about, Tom, strike me as well. So what I've heard over the last year from our grantees is they express some of the very same challenges that anyone is presented with, just about anyone looking for a job, right? So you apply for a job, you do so online, you put it in some online portal, and then you sit wondering, will I ever hear a thing? Did it get to the right person? And I think, on top of that, experience. I hear our grantees say that they have spent so much time away from work, working on their recovery, centering that in their lives, that they're concerned what people will say. What will they think about that? How will they bridge gaps on their resume in ways that resonate with employers rather than takes away from their candidacy, especially when you're only going on a piece of paper at that part in the process? And then, for folks that do use a wheelchair, I've heard that they're just not sure if they should let an employer know before they apply or in the application process or sometime after, should they be so lucky to get an interview, just not knowing whether folks will see that as a positive or a negative. And I've also heard them share some of the great things that you talked about, Tom. So having that workplace that does do, once you get there, an audit to see, are the walkways wide enough? Can chairs and desks be raised to accommodate a chair without issue? And even things that are as simple as focusing on equipment purchases like touchscreen laptops, just to accommodate any needs that folks may have. And then that flexibility you talked about, having time in the morning for the routines that we know for people with spinal cord injury can take hours in the morning, and to have that hybrid schedule where health needs can be met as well as those business objectives that need to be met as well. But most of all, what I hear from folks is you don't know until you know, until you meet someone who's living with a spinal cord injury or paralysis, or that you yourself are living with that condition, you might not think of some of these things. But with that, and with a little bit of planning and thoughtfulness, things can go much smoother. So today, our hope is to really share some of the incredible work that Kathy, you do with your team at Work Without Limits every day to support people along their career journey, to ensure that that thoughtfulness is plugged in and that the receptiveness from employers are there. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Kathy, to share some of the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Thomas. I love to hear the stories. I mean, those examples just bring everything to life. So it's really helpful. Appreciate it. And I'm going to share my screen. And just please let me know if you can see it.
We can see your desktop.
Okay, thank you. That's not what I want to share.
There we go. Perfect.
Oh, you can see it over there. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Apologies. Did it just disappear again?
It did. It's good to get a preview though.
Okay. So
Okay,
hi,
perfect.
yeah, okay, great, wonderful. So I want to thank you for having me speak today and talk about Work Without Limits. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Kathy Muhr, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Work Without Limits at For Health Consulting, which is part of UMass Chan Medical School. And similar to the Thomas E. Foundation, we've been around for just over 15 years ourselves. And really, what I want to talk about today is to give you a picture of all the services that we offer that may be useful for you all as you are going back to work, thinking about your employment choices, and just obtaining employment, and how can we assist with that? So we like to use our website. We like to bring everybody's attention to the website because we keep everything up to date. Our marketing manager is excellent at um, updating resources, updating any events that are happening so that people are aware at a timely fashion of when things are happening. So again, this is the website. Um, who Work Without Limits is we are a network of employers educational institutions, employment service providers, state and federal agencies, as well as individuals with disabilities and their family members. Our goal, as Sarah mentioned, is to increase the employment of people with disabilities to equal to that of people without disabilities. And our programs and services are geared towards three particular stakeholder groups: business network members, which are employers who want to hire people with disabilities. Employment, the second group is employment service providers, those organizations that prepare people to go to work. And then thirdly are the individuals with disabilities themselves who are seeking employment. And while I'm using this website, I wanted to go down to the services that we provide. So Work Without Limits at a glance. And these will be things that I will touch upon today's presentation. And the first is the Business Network Program. And then we have our community partners, and those are employment service providers who, again, provide services to help people go back to work. We do training and consulting. We have a jobs board, a work incentive planning and assisting program, employment network program, tons of resources on our website, and then also events and sponsorships. Events would be more like our career fairs. Sponsorships could be more like providing money so that we could have a disability mentoring day and include people to get to go to employers at different employers and see what it's like to work at those particular companies. So first, I just wanted to talk about our business network members. And our business network members are those employers who want to hire people with disabilities. However, they want services and training and education and how to provide those services. And that's what we do. We help to provide capacity to let them successfully bring people with disabilities into their workplace. We have trainings that we do with employers. We do consulting, and we have provided trainings nationally and internationally. We have over 30 different member organizations, and I'm going to click on the member organizations right here on the left-hand side of the computer. Excuse me. And as you can see, here are the 30 different employers, and they primarily have a footprint in the Massachusetts area, but they also have a footprint nationally. But that's not to say that we wouldn't include employers who are around the nation, and we are always looking for more employers. And so we consider these folks disability inclusive employers. Again, with us providing that training and education and consulting, it really gives them the fortitude to want to hire people with disabilities, to feel more confident with hiring people with disabilities, and then also know where to go if they have questions about hiring people with disabilities and what should we do. So I'm just going to bring it back because I wanted to show you some of the training that we do provide for those employers and their staff. And, you know, we provide the training is again for either all employers, but then we do have targeted ones for like the leadership roles. There's disability etiquette, why disability matters, neurodiversity in the workplace. And as more trainings come about and employers are seeking, we're always happy to build more trainings for them so that we can service as many people as possible. And then on the leadership side, you know, where there's always interviewing candidates with disabilities and how to do a great job at that, and conducting performance discussions, reasonable accommodations. So those are just a sample of some of the training and consulting that we do provide for those employers. The next thing I wanted to just go back to that cogwheel and talk about the next group, which is those stakeholder group being the community partners, those employment service providers. And they are made up of federal agencies, state agencies, colleges and universities, or the accessibility office or the career service office, anybody who's working with somebody with a disability and who wants to get back to work. So we have over 125 different community partners, and they are in Massachusetts as well as national too. Always wanting to have more community partners in our back pocket because individuals will want to know who they can go to. They want to find out about different organizations. And this is what we like to promote. So all of these organizations can benefit other people. And just going to scroll down to the various list of community partners. Again, those colleges and university, human service agencies, career centers, youth transition programs, and some different states, Mass and Rhode Island. And so those are the community partners. And the next thing that I wanted to mention is to talk about the third stakeholder group, the individuals themselves. So a lot of individuals who are working with our community partners who again might provide that job coaching or job searching for the individual. And I'm sorry, I should go up to the page. Here I'm going to take right to the individuals page. So it's the curated section on our website that says individuals. And the main thing, and again, what you're probably all interested in is how do I connect with employers? How do I make those connections? Where do I go to make those connections? And there's a few things that Work Without Limits does that may benefit you and that you may want to use to connect with them either now or down the road. The first thing is we have a private LinkedIn page. Again, it's for those three stakeholder groups, the employers, the employment service providers, and the individuals with disabilities. Employers are posting jobs in real time. The community partners, employment service providers might be posting about a training or program that they're having that might be of interest to individuals with disabilities. And then they also might post jobs, their employers too. And we have heard that from candidates who are seeking jobs. A lot of times they want to go into the human service field. And I think sometimes our community partners or human service agencies forget about that. And they don't realize that, yeah, we are an employer too, and we can also hire as well. And a lot of folks like to do the peer-to-peer support. So human service agencies are a great way as well. And individuals themselves are who are on the private LinkedIn group, they may be posting that they just completed a course or they just completed college and have a major, and they want to promote themselves on the private LinkedIn group. But we also know that a lot of people don't want to put themselves out there to let everybody know about their disability. So they just use the private link. They still join it, but they don't necessarily post anything. So they're looking at to find what jobs are available or to find what different programs are available. And that's okay. Use the private LinkedIn group, however it works best for you. And another way that may be beneficial for you is how to connect with different employees is the jobs board. So the jobs board is known as Our Ability Jobs Board. It is not a product of Work Without Limits. It's a disability-owned platform dedicated to building employment opportunities for people with disabilities. It was actually created by one of our community partners, John Robinson. He himself has a congenital quadruple amputee. And the reason why he decided to create the job board was when he went to college, when it was time to graduate, as he calls it, all of his able-bodied friends got jobs right away. And it took him 4 years later to get a job. And so after he landed a job, he was in the corporate world for a while and said, okay, I'm done with this. now I want to create something that's going to benefit other people with disabilities. And how can I do that? And that's how the job board was formed. And so let me just click on the job board here. Apologize for my throat being dry. So the jobs board is quite unique. It can be used as a way to search jobs as any other typical job board, but what it's different about it is that as opposed to uploading a resume, you can build a profile, and that is makes it easier for individuals because a lot of times people with disabilities may not have a history of employment, and so how can they sell themselves to employers? So they might put in based on different skills that they have that can bring up matches to match other jobs that the employers are actually seeking. So because we know that people with disabilities are often either underemployed or employed in jobs which they're overqualified for, this job board can help bring to the forefront their skills and abilities so that employers can see them. And if I hadn't mentioned it, this job board is specifically for individuals with disabilities. So all the employers that are already posting jobs or searching for individuals, that is already taken off the table about the disability factor. So there's thousands of jobs on this job board, and I'm actually going to just click onto the job board itself to give you a quick feel for it. Again, it can be a typical job board or you can create that profile. And we do recommend creating the profile again because employees do go on to try to find employees as well. So let me see. The other thing that I wanted to mention about the job board is that John Robinson, the person who created it, is always willing to come out and talk about the job board. So if at a time you ever wanted to have him come out and speak to the organization, I'm sure he's willing to do that, and I'm very happy to make that connection for you. So just to get away from the job board, I'm going to go back to the individual page. Sorry, my fingers are all over the place. And the next way that can help individuals is our Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Program, and we refer to that as WIPPER. And this is a grant from Social Security that Work Without Limits received to provide short-term benefits counseling to people who are thinking about going to work. And then always wonder, how will my benefits be affected? Will I lose my benefits? How do my earnings get affected? Can I take an increase in pay? So that short-term one-on-one benefits counseling is for people, again, who is receiving Social Security income, SSI, or Social Security Disability Insurance, the SSDI. And the benefits counsel can really help sit down with them, have that conversation of, this is how much you're making, this is what are you planning on doing, and how your benefits can be affected. Benefits counselors go through very rigorous training through Social Security to become certified benefits counselors. So they really know the ins and outs of benefits counseling. And it's very tricky. Social Security, as I'm sure you're all aware, is not very user friendly. The letters that they send out, a lot of folks do not understand and what they're requesting and what they're looking for. And so, benefits counselors can assist with that. So if somebody is interested in short-term benefits counseling for the WIPPER grant, they can make a referral. But in Massachusetts, Massachusetts has received 2 WIPPER grants, and it is based on where you live, is which WIPPER program you would go to. And I can show you quickly the service area Work Without Limits has 6 counties in Massachusetts, more of the central Mass, Western Mass area, and then 7 counties in New York. And the other area of Massachusetts would be individuals would go to Project Impact, which is part of Mass Ability. However, if you ever contact us and you're not in the right place, we will certainly refer people to the right place to make sure you get to where you need to be so you can get that information. And similar with the WIP, all WIPA projects work the same, and every state in the country has a WIPA project. So if you have to move, you can always find one at another location as well. And you would have to make a referral. So there's a referral form, and each one has a different referral form. Ours is very detailed. We like a lot of information ahead of time so that we can really provide you the services that will best meet your needs. But one of the main important things that would be for any WIPA program is when you're filling out the referral packet, there's a benefits plan inquiry request that we get from Social Security that you have to sign. And that allows us to get your accurate information from Social Security. What program are you on? How much are you making? When did you start making this? So when you come to the benefits counselor and say that I'm going to start a job, I'm going to make this much money, the benefits counselor wants to give you the correct information. Sometimes we might meet with somebody and they really do not know what program they're on. It's confusing for everyone. So that's why they wait for that benefits plan inquiry to come back from Social Security before they would have that meeting with you. So I just wanted to let individuals know that ahead of time. So this is really for people with that short term looking to go to work, thinking about going to work. How will my benefits be affected type of program. If you were eventually thinking of working and know that you may want to eventually get off of your cash benefits, there's another program that we do, and I'm just going to click over to that as well. And that is called the Employment Network Program. And that is for people who are receiving SSI or SSDI, and they may have a ticket to work. And the ticket to work is really for people who want to go back to work. And as you have a short-term goal and a long-term goal, you will reach SGA, which is substantial gainful activity amount of dollars. And based on where you are, your benefits may be affected. But that is where where the benefits counselor would be able to assist an individual. It is long-term benefits counseling, because we know if somebody is thinking about going to work and when they make a certain amount of money and eventually will lose their cash benefit, it may take years. You may start off working 3 hours a week, or you may work 10 hours a week, and depending on how much money you make, it depends on everybody's individualized. A lot of times we've heard in the past that I can't work more than 20 hours or I'm going to lose my benefits. But it's really not based on the amount of hours. It's more on the amount of money that somebody makes. Somebody who is working in human services is not going to be making the same much money as a stockbroker, let's say. So it varies, or a nurse. So the money is actually the amount that an individual has to worry about. But that's where the benefits counseling comes in, is to take that piece, that stress off of individuals. When someone's going to work or thinking about going to work, that's enough to worry about. Can I get in a door? Should I talk about my disability? Are they going to give me accommodations? All of that is on your mind. Having to worry about the benefits and that piece is where the Employment Network Program comes in to really assist people with that benefits counseling piece. And again, you need a short-term and a long-term goal with again, the thinking that eventually you want to get off benefits. It may happen, it may not happen, and that's okay too. people's goals change. You might sign up to say you want to be doing this career, but after a year and a half, it's like, oh, that's not for me. I'm going to change careers. Or I'm going to become self-employed. So we know that people's goals change, and we don't want people to think that they have to get locked into that one goal that they've made and have to stay with that for 5 years. This is, like I said, a long-term process. So it's 2 to 5 years that you might have a benefits counselor who you would meet with monthly, and you could call them for any assistance of being, oh, I got this letter in from Social Security. I do not know what it means. How can you help me? You have to report your income when you go to work. How do I do that? We can teach you how to do that, or we can do that for the person. One of the major things we like to do is help avoid any overpayments to Social Security. Nobody likes to give money back to Social Security, but we also don't want to have to do that at all. So how can we make sure that doesn't happen? So the benefits counselor can monitor the person's amount of money that they're making and let them know when the particular money, when their checks may be affected. And then how can they keep their checks longer as well? So that is the Employment Network program. Same thing, you would fill out a referral packet and wait for a benefits plan inquiry. If you're not sure what program you might want to be interested in, I would say make a referral for the Employment Network. The Benefits Council can have an intake meeting with you and help you decide which would be best for you at this point in time in your life. And then maybe it changes as you go along your journey. Another thing I just want to let you know is that you can, at any time with benefits counseling, you can have yourself just be in a meeting, or you can invite a support person, a counselor, or your family member, or you can do it yourself. It's up to you. You're the person, whatever you decide. The next service that we have is, not service, but event that we have is the career fair. So Work Without Limits for over 15 years now has been doing career fairs in person. And of course, when COVID hit, everybody went to virtual. So we recently just had one in February. We tend to have it every February. It's virtual. And any individual with disability can participate. It is national. We have many of our supportive network employers, business network members who are recruiting people with disabilities, but we also have members from around the country, other companies. And this year, we had about 26 who participated. We had a few more that were going to join us, but based on funding from government, they were not able to participate. So hopefully they'll be back next year. One of the great things about this particular platform that we use, which is called Premier Virtual, it allows individuals to submit resumes. So we do require that because employers really do look at the resumes in advance to try to target people ahead of time. So when they come to the career fair, they already know that they want to meet with that person. And they might reach out to the individual ahead of time to say, hope to see you at the career fair, looking forward to it. Candidates can go in and look at jobs that the employers are posting. But we always say, go to the employer's career pages ahead of time. Check out their websites. See what they have as a career job that you may be interested in. So when you come to the career fair, you can talk about it. I've already applied for this job. I'm looking for this particular job. That way they know that you're doing the homework ahead of time to get a job. And one thing I neglected to mention, I do want to say, is that just to back up to our business network members that I spoke about earlier, those 30 different employers on those organizations, feel free, and after we leave and you have time to go to the website, check out those employers. And if you see a job that you're interested in, this is another benefit that I give to people is if you apply for the job, you can let me know. I'll put my email in the chat, but I always say, because you want that leg in the door, like I just need a foot in the door. So I have contacts at those HR companies. And if a person applies for a job, they let me know and they say, I just applied for this job at such and such company and this job ID number. Based, if you send me an email, you're giving me permission to reach out to that and that HR person to say, so and so just applied, just wanted to let you know. It certainly lets people know that you work without limits, so therefore you have a disability. They don't know what your disability is, but that's just to the HR person right then. From there, it just moves on. It just helps to get individuals' resumes pulled to the top, seen, and sometimes that's all it takes is to get that notice. And we've had luck with our employers hiring people. They don't typically follow up with me to let me know to say, hey, by the way, because once it leaves the like my hands, I don't really hear from anybody. And then maybe a year later, somebody will contact me and I find out that they were hired. So it's just nice to find out. Those are those success stories we like to hear about. But it's just very beneficial for individuals to at least get in the door, as I mentioned. So I wanted to backtrack to that because I did forget to say that. So going back to the career fair, with it being virtual, this particular platform is chat-based, so which is more like typing in the platform. However, there are opportunities to say that you want to have an in-person meeting with them, which meaning in-person virtual. We do provide support to help people with the career fair, with the guides, what they need to know, best practices for a career fair. We have a webinar in advance so people feel comfortable using the platform. And then even on the other side for the employers, again, not all those employers are business network members. So we want other employers to know how to interview people with disabilities, to have disability etiquette. So we provide that training to the recruiters as well, so that they are prepared to have conversations with individuals. So I would recommend definitely signing up for our email list so you can find out about our career fair. And I can tell you how to do that. The best way is to go to our contact page and you can go down and select that you're an individual with a disability. And then it pulls up all the different things that I just spoke about. And someone can reach out to you and talk to you more about these different events and programs. And really kind of tailor it to all the information that you want to know. So that is another opportunity for you to get on to the Work Without Limits website email list. There's two more things that I just wanted to mention as I go back to the individual page. Is the other thing that we also offer for individuals is our resources. Our resource page has a wealth of information. There's for all different stakeholder groups, but for job seekers specifically, there are lots of fact sheets. There's information on, talking about disclosure or accommodations, talking about getting a job, different job boards, internships. So feel free to go to the resources page, look at anything. As I mentioned previously, we're always keeping it up to date. And once we find more resources, we add them to the different pages. And the other thing that I did want to mention too, kind of going back to what Thomas was talking about when he spoke earlier, is what we call our higher thinking. And we've worked with a number of organizations to collaborate on the mission of increased employment with people with disabilities. And this particular page is us working with different organizations on projects. But one particular one that may be of interest to people is the MCB, Mass Commission for the Blind, Disability as a Qualification for Employment. And it really resonates with all individuals with a disability. And, the it's a one-pager. I guess what I want to mention is that it's a one-pager on how job seekers can leverage their disability to get into the labor market. When you're looking or applying or interviewing for a job, know your strengths. That that you can see here at the right-hand side of the page, because of your disability, you're more driven, you're more just determined, you're persistent and planful. You had to find ways to be efficient and to organize, and these are exactly the skills that employers are looking for, and that can bring you into their workplace. So when you're applying for jobs or in that interview, use these terms, put them on your resume. I'm sure you can think of any day in your time in your life that you've had to really be resourceful to make sure that you can get to work on time, or planful to make sure that you can get out the door at a certain time. These are all skills that they're transferable from your home life to your work life, and employers are looking for that. And with that, this is what I had to share with you for our presentation. And again, feel free to go to our website. I will put my email in the chat so people can have it. And feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions or anything that you want some information on.
Wow, Kathy, thank you so very much for sharing all of the many resources that you and your team provide. This is amazing. And I think ending on this section as we head into the Q&A is just tremendous. Seeing these words and thinking about, the very thing that I mentioned at the start here that some of our grantees have really shared is some of the challenges. How do you bridge that gap in employment and so forth? And, heading into today's webinar, we had a couple questions about, well, where do you get started even after something like this occurs? And I wonder, as people are typing in their questions, Kathy, if you might maybe tell a story or share a little bit about like what you think a journey could look like. And I know you were very careful to explain there's lots of different ways to look at it, whether it's part-time or thinking about benefits first. But if you're someone on the call who's just like, where do I start? Where would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend first figuring out what type of job that you want to do, and then do you have the skills to do that job? And then which organization is going to help you best? One of the things that Work Without Limits, why we concentrate specifically on the benefits counseling is because we are not job coaches, or we don't do resume writing, because there's so many other great organizations out there that do that. We stick to what we do best, which is that benefits counseling. So again, we refer people to those other organizations who can provide those services. So I would definitely recommend trying to get up your skills. Organizations are always having different trainings that can lead you to the right path that you might want to go to. And then, you can either start off volunteering or go into a part-time job if you're just not sure. Certainly use your resources, use your network, the private LinkedIn group to try to get your name out there, to try to get yourself seen and heard. Again, attend career fairs, try different avenues, such as if somebody has a volunteer job and it's not what you really want to do, but might get me in the door, do it, take that leap. Sometimes it really takes just getting in the door and connecting with people. Networking is the biggest thing. Or even volunteering for different organizations is very helpful. Joining different boards. A lot of people who have different skills or different jobs, titles, members are on different boards, and that networking really goes a long way, and I really do recommend that. Sure.
I love that. I think that resonates a lot with what we've heard. And, I'd like to encourage anyone on the call to feel free to go ahead and use the Q&A function. We're happy to hear from you and want to, we have Kathy here. We'd love to make sure we take advantage of this moment to answer any personal questions that you all may have. And I know, Kathy, you were going to stick your email in the chat and really appreciate your generous offer earlier to really assist anyone on this call and anybody who watches this video with making those connections to the employers. I think that's incredible. Is there anything that folks need to do in order to get hooked up with you in order to take advantage of that, or just go ahead and look at the business websites and go from there?
Well, to get connected with us itself I would definitely recommend getting on the Work Without Limits email list. And then if somebody is interested in the benefits counseling or the employment network, you can check that off on the contact us page, or you can contact me directly and I'm happy to provide you that information of who is the best place or person. The referral form is, if that's something you're really interested in one of those programs, fill those out. Because sometimes it does take a little bit to get that benefits planning query back in from Social Security. They're not the fastest of organizations. And we want to meet with people, quickly, because sometimes people get a job offer and they're like, they want to hire me in 2 weeks. I don't have all my ducks in a row. I don't know, like they want to offer me how much money. If that was ever the case, you can notify us to say, and this happens all the time. Like I put it in 2 weeks ago, but I just found out they offered me a job on Monday. Someone just called me the other day. I put it in 3 months ago, and now they're offering me a job, and I have to start Wednesday. So what we can make it happen faster for you. We can always contact Social Security. Sometimes they'll send it right away, and if they don't, we would at least meet with you to kind of give an initial information to you, and then meet with you again. Always follow up with us. Don't feel like, oh, I contacted. You don't have to sit around and wait. You know, that, feel free to contact us when we can, make things happen. And that I'm sure goes for anybody. Don't always sit around and wait. Sometimes you have to be a really good advocate for yourself.
Kathy, I want to double click on something that you said in the word resourceful. I think when you think of, and I'll speak for myself, folks with disabilities, those intangibles, right? We do things differently, whether it's a physical disability, something mentally, we do things differently, but to get through the day, be a productive member of society, but also on our journey on whatever we're going through, whether it's paralysis or another type of disability, that drive, determination, having to be resourceful, whether it be, getting dressed in the morning if you're someone with, like,
Exactly.
those things are the intangibles that I think more employers need to hear from folks. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, when I was first starting out, Kathy, and I was telling Sarah this, I often thought because of my physical disability that I wasn't as up to standard, a standard as an able-bodied person.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, I wasn't worthy of going down different avenues. But when I looked at the journey that I was on, and really what I had accomplished, it was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, I am. And then I also have that extra to offer. And those were the two examples that I was talking about earlier with the young woman going through law school and her making it work. Then the
Exactly.
gentleman getting back with his employer, pairing the sales aspect with his therapy. And I just think that when you're thinking from an individual standpoint, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right either way, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
believing in yourself and looking at those intangibles, I think when I think of this, Kathy, it's the opportunity. Those with disabilities just want an opportunity. If we don't qualify for the job, that's one thing. And I think we would accept that,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not qualified. We don't want an employer to hire us if we're not qualified, but it's getting that opportunity. And I just think
Exactly.
you and your team at Work Without Limits just do such a wonderful job at providing that opportunity. And everyone listening today and those who are listening in the future, we are such big believers in what you're doing and providing that opportunity. And I think digging deep and saying, well, I have the resume on paper, but now I have this unbelievable resource that can help move this to the top and get me the opportunity to speak with someone so they can learn about my personal story. I just, as Sarah and I and our team have worked with employers, that oftentimes may be a bit more important than what's on the paper,
Mm-hmm.
or those intangibles. So just encouraging everyone, believe in yourself. And I can speak from personal experience that um, w providing that different aspect in the workplace can be just as beneficial to your colleagues and the employer as yourself being the employee getting the job.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's incredible, Tom and Kathy. It's incredible all that you're doing. And thank you so much for taking the time today to really share it with our audience. And I know if anyone has questions, Chris was kind enough on our team to share Kathy's email. So find it there. Kathy, you're going to get a deluge of emails, I know. And I'm so happy to hear it because, you know, working with you in this short time that we've known each other, I already know that you are, as Tom points out, very well aware of those things that make employment really gainful for people who have a disability or who are living with paralysis, and just really appreciate your thoughtfulness in sharing what you do with everyone. So as we close, I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and Kathy, of course, for you, and Tom for sharing your insights. This has been an incredible series on workforce, and we're so glad to have had the opportunity to do this. And if anybody in the audience wants additional information, we really encourage you to stay in touch with us. Please join our mailing list right here. You can see how to get in touch with us so that you can hear about our future events, grant opportunities, and more. So please go ahead and do that if you haven't already. And thank you so very much, everyone, for today.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Kathy, again, for your tremendous partnership with the Thomas E. Smith Foundation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Have a great day, everyone.